Good morning, everyone. I'm Deborah Rose with Realty One Group in beautiful Payson, Arizona. Thank you for joining our Facebook talk show today. We have a very special guest. But before we get to him, I want to take an opportunity to thank Cameron Davis of Razor Thin Media behind the camera, who is helping us put this great show together. And if you need help with real estate, I would like to apply for the job. You can visit my website at PaysonEasyProperties.com. So let's just dive into the show. This is going to be a really good one, very educational. I highly recommend that you ask questions because we have in the studio today Dave Mikulak. Can you talk in Russian again? That was so cute.
Не откладывай до завтра того, что можешь сделать сегодня.
I love it. So Dave is a active, certified arborist in the town of Payson, Arizona, and he is a plethora of knowledge and information. So David, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're so welcome. And tell us, you have a shirt and a patch on your sleeve, ISA. What does that mean?
ISA is the International Society of Arboriculture. It is basically an international organization, nonprofit, that credentials people in the tree industry, many different facets, not only certified arborist, but municipal specialist for municipalities, urban foresters, board certified master arborist, which is the highest in our profession. You can get utility line clearance specialist, which is for working around energized lines. Certified tree worker, actually being an expert in all of the ways we climb trees, accessing trees, getting into trees, moving around when we're up in a tree. All of that, tying all the knots, being sure you can tie all the different knots to lower all the branches down after they're cut, if they're big and dangerous, over buildings, that kind of thing. So the ISA, they provide so much education and credentials for all of us in the tree industry, because we found over the years that there's a need to centralize all of this knowledge. And if you go somewhere, say to California or to Arizona, and you look at recent tree work done by certified arborists, you'll see that we all understand how to make a proper pruning cut. So when you see the work of a certified arborist, it's the same everywhere you go, no matter where it is. So there's a need to centralize this so that we all adhere to the same principles for the health of the trees, because we realize the great value that trees hold for us.
Absolutely. And Payson is exceptional because I've always said to my clients that we are in the midst of the largest ponderosa pine forest in America, but I've learned from you that that's not true. What is it?
Actually, we live in the largest ponderosa pine stand on the planet. So as far as ponderosa pine forests go, a stand is a group of trees growing. So we live in the largest ponderosa pine stand on the earth.
That's incredible. And what I hear you saying, an arborist, then, you're like a doctor. You understand more the physiology, the biology of a tree. It's a living, breathing thing. And what happens when someone hires the wrong person to prune their trees?
Well, you'll find that especially up here in Rim Country. You'll find it everywhere. There are so many tree companies that figure just because I have a tree in my yard, and because I can go to Home Depot and buy a saw, I can cut it. And I can just cut an arm off of it because the arm is over my driveway or my kid's room or something. So people feel that because this is growing on my property, I own the property, I can easily go buy a saw, I can cut that. Well, it's a living organism. And if we first recognize the value that trees have for us, not only in the social element, but the economic elements, that trees are beneficial for us. They provide us with shade, they provide us with insulation, they trap stormwater runoff. The advantages of having trees is numerous. So once you see the value of these, you realize that you want to keep them alive as long as you can. So making these cuts, and this is what happens up here all the time, is essential to make a proper pruning cut. If you do not make a proper pruning cut, then what happens is insects, microorganisms, pathogens, they all race toward that cut that was made improperly, and they infest the tree, and it's just a matter of time before decay begins to take over that tree, and within a few years, usually you're removing that tree if the decay spreads fast enough. The tree will compartmentalize decay as much as it can, but sometimes it becomes too rampant and it overtakes the tree and it kills it. So making a proper pruning cut is essential, and that's one of the big problems we have up here. We have companies that are doing this.
So can you describe what a proper pruning cut looks like?
A proper pruning cut is different for every single branch because every branch has what's called a branch collar. And that branch collar is a bunch of cells that wrap around that branch as the branch is coming out of the stalk of the tree. You want to make a flush cut to the outside of that collar. But because trees are shaped different, every one of them is different, and you have to know how to make that cut. It's just like asking a surgeon, how do you make a particular cut? Well, it depends on what deformities I run into. Once I open up that person and I see that their particular bone or flesh or muscles are going in a certain way, well, I have to know about that in order to know where to cut to the outside of or where to cut to the inside. What's going to be the best way to make that cut. A surgeon knows that, and he knows each individual part that's in there, and then he knows what to do to make that cut. So you can't just say, here's the specific formula for making a proper pruning cut. You have to understand the structure, the physiology, the biology of what's going on inside the tree so that you know where to place that cut and to make it proper.
So your advice is people without experience can't possibly know this. So tell us a little bit about your business, and if someone needed your service, what would happen? You don't give your business away for free, obviously, because you are a doctor of trees. So what does it look like for someone that may want to hire you?
Well, I would recommend that they call us, and we would love to just come out, walk your property with you, show you what your trees are, identify trees that you may not know what they are, explain to you what recommendations I would recommend. I look at everything. If I see things that look like they might be a concern, I red flag those to you and tell you, we might want to do this, might want to do that, and basically just walk around and give you, that's the cheapest, first, easiest way. If someone's having a specific illness, some specific sign or symptom that's coming out of a tree, then it's a little bit more entailed and a little more detailed of a diagnosis, and then we follow that with the proper treatment. But if you know, just in the medical world, that prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. And you will get a lot of people out here that, because they don't understand and they didn't get any education in trees, but yet they got business cards, chainsaws, and a truck and trailer, they're going to come out and tell you need to take that tree out. I've seen numerous people, because we have a certain type of tree up here, Quercus emery, which is the emery oak, that loses its leaves the same time of year that all of the rest of the trees are receiving their leaves. So you'll get people that call up these companies and they will say, my oak tree is dying. And they will come out and say, oh yeah, it is, we need to take it out. It's not dying, it just loses its leaves in the springtime. And there are many cases like that of people up here that just, if you're gonna have a business in some area, go to school and learn about it. That way you can be the best that you can be in that field. And that's what we want to do at Natural Beauty Tree Works for Payson in the area, is to make sure that we have certified arborists on our staff that can come out and give you the real deal of what's going on with your trees and do it properly.
That's fantastic. I know this is a concern to you too, being in the largest pine stand in the world, fire-wising. Can you speak to people that go and they don't understand that they have to get permits to take trees down, and what happens when they clear cut a whole area of trees and what that does to the remaining trees?
Well, fire-wising is one thing, because we live in the urban wildland interface. That's the interface between human beings and nature. And we want to live in these areas because they're really cool and they're real beautiful and literally cooler than, say, in the valley. So we come and we inhabit these places. Well, that comes with a price. We have to realize that we're moving into a place that has fire as its normal part of its ecosystem. Fire is a normal part. In California, there are some trees that will not germinate. Their cones will not open up unless they are subjected to high heat and fire. And the only way that some of these redwoods and giant sequoias will actually germinate their seeds is through being opened by fire. So fire is a natural part of the ecosystem. So we need to try to do as much as we can do on one side to protect the forest, and number two, our own personal homes and our belongings. So by fire-wising, it's very important to do this. We take out all of the stuff that's growing underneath the canopies of these major, big, mature trees. Taking out all of that stuff, and then reducing down the groves of manzanitas. Some properties you'll have 20, 30, 40, 50 feet square of manzanita grove. Well, we reduce that manzanita grove down to a little bit smaller, and then we'll go through and remove a lot of the scrub oaks that are trying to grow underneath the canopies of these more mature trees. This makes it much better for the trees because then they're not fighting over the minimal amount of water we get each year, and it allows the trees to get more of those nutrients that are in the soil and not give them to small trees that are trying to grow underneath the canopies of big trees, never getting the right sunlight. They're never going to become big. They're going to have very small trunk taper. They're going to grow like pencils, and that's because they're growing in that shade. Taking all of that out is going to just make basically survival of the fittest. It allows the mature trees to continue to grow, to get the water that they need, and when fire does happen, it just grows. Fire will flow underneath the trees, and it won't even catch the trees on fire.
That's important.
So, yeah.
So let's talk about clear cutting. I'm sure you drive around and you see people that are allowed. We have a town of Payson that issues permits, and if people don't know, you have to get a permit to take down a tree that is what, more than 6 inches in circumference?
Yeah.
Typically a pine tree in particular?
Yeah, I'm not sure if there is the DBH, which is the diameter at breast height, and there is a particular, it may be 6 inches. I'm not sure exactly what diameter at breast height the tree has to be, but we do have an ordinance in the town of Payson that says you cannot cut a tree down at a particular diameter of breast height without a permit. And there's a reason for that. By living in this beautiful place that we have, a lot of people will just come in and just cut all of those trees, just like they did years ago and probably still do in the Northwest. But they're learning little by little that by selecting certain trees to take out in certain places, and a lot of times you can find and you can accomplish what you need to accomplish without taking all of these trees out. They're the great filters of our planet that provide us with so much, not to mention our oxygen. And the benefits are just so numerous. I could go on and on about the numerous benefits of trees. So we don't need to clear cut. And by clear cutting all of this, you're exposing all of that soil to the sun's rays, which now the sun is just going to bake and deplete all of those nutrients that were in the soil. And then by cutting everything down, it's going to take an entire lifetime to replant those areas that you need. You really don't need to do that. You can take these areas and you can selectively remove things and still accomplish what you need to accomplish. But we're used to this pioneer spirit where we just go in and just clear cut it all. And it's a great tragedy that we deal with.
Does it protect the larger ponderosa pine trees can they sustain life when things are clear cut around them, or should it have some type of buffer?
Well, these trees, the big mother trees, when they grow, they are actually dropping seeds and growing offspring. And believe it or not, through the root systems, these trees can communicate with each other. And they actually, the mother tree will give carbon to its offspring trees and will communicate with them about diseases that are coming in, that kind of thing. Some of the trees, interspecies, different species of trees will give carbon to one another during different cycles of their growth until they break through the canopy and can get the sunlight they need to grow taller. So all of these things we're finding as we go and we learn more and more scientifically that these things are interconnected. So by taking out everything around a tree, we're actually doing damage because they are needing each other to grow and they help each other to grow. So on the one hand, we want to be fire safe and we want to take out the things that are underneath the canopy of the tree, but we're just now on the verge of realizing that the interdependence and the communal nature of all of these trees and organisms is way more than we ever thought. So a lot of the logging companies that would just go through and they would just decimate entire areas, what they would do is they would take out all of the, say, the linden trees or the other trees that were smaller because they were looking for these one trees that have the good lumber. Well, they would take out all the other ones, and scientific research has now proven that those other trees are necessary for that bigger tree to grow and grow properly. So we're finding we're just on the outset of learning so much.
That's really fascinating.
Yeah.
Cameron asked about aspen trees earlier, and you made a comment that blew my mind about aspen trees and what's happened in Utah. Can you talk about that just for a second?
Yeah. You can look it up online. The largest living organism on the planet is a tree. It is a series of aspen trees that are growing in Utah. That is one organism, but it grows, it's hundreds of miles long. And it's basically started with one aspen tree, and the roots continue to grow, and then adventitious growth sprouts up and it shoots up another tree. And this has been growing this way for probably centuries, but it is now known the largest living organism on the planet, and it's in Utah, and it's an aspen tree.
That's really amazing.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
So tell us a little bit about yourself now, your leadership role. You do teach. I think people would be very interested in knowing all the wonderful things that you do in your career.
Yeah, so I started in Payson 20 years ago, back when I moved here from Phoenix, 2002. Originally was raised on Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Lived on the Continental Divide in Colorado. Lived right on the Pacific Ocean in Pacifica in California. Went to school in Santa Cruz and got a bachelor's degree, and then went to ASU, worked on a Master of Arts. Moved up to Payson in 2002, started my company up here, and wasn't until 2016 that I realized I really need to become educated in the field that I'm in. If I'm going to go out and, I just felt that I didn't know what I was doing. I was out there charging people money for something I really didn't know what I was doing. And I was just kind of making it up as I went along. And so I ended up finding this group down in Phoenix called the Arizona Comminity Tree Council, which is a statewide nonprofit organization throughout Arizona that basically the job of the council is to promote the proper planting and maintenance of trees in Arizona. They also have another component where they train people in the industry. So I linked up with them. I started finding out the different opportunities that they, educational opportunities, found out that I needed to become a certified arborist first thing. So I went down there. I didn't have any money, and I told them, I said, I can't even afford your class, but every week when I come to class, can I bring you $100 and pay it as I go? And they graciously allowed me that. So I went and I devoted all of my time to my studies. I ended up passing the exam the first time, which is not something that happens all the time. It's a very difficult exam. So I devoted 6 hours a day to this thing. I mean, I just gave it all I had. Passed the exam, became certified, and then a few years later, they asked me to step up and become a board member. So then I became a board member and started teaching some of the classes that they had down in Phoenix. Well, fast forward now to today, I'm actually the incoming president of the Arizona Comminity Tree Council. I teach the Certified Arborist Training course every year in Phoenix, which is a 6-week training program that prepares all of the candidates to become certified arborists in the state of Arizona. And actually, when you become certified, you're certified through the International Society of Arboriculture, which is international. So your certification means you can go anywhere on the planet and work on trees. That's how comprehensive the education is that you receive when you train to become a certified arborist. So I not only teach and coordinate the training for certified arborists every year, I do satellite programs in Flagstaff and Yuma and Tucson, and continue to create more and more educational programs through the Arizona Comminity Tree Council. We've also done homeowner workshops up here. I speak regularly each year at the Rim Country Garden Club and have spoken for homeowners associations on the need to firewise, how to firewise. I've actually had homeowner workshops at the library where we teach people how to do basic tree work so they can maintain their own properties, which saves them money as long as they do it right.
That's really remarkable. Thank you for making the effort. And it brings up something in our conversation that our current mayor, Tom Morrissey, has worked a lot getting this area firewise, especially up on the rim around the water situation. What could the town of Payson do to improve its community? Do they have anyone on staff that knows what they're doing? And if not, what role do you think you could play?
Yeah, this is a really important, especially moving forward today, where we're really learning more and more about trees and how they work and their role, their larger role in the bigger society and culture that we live in. Every town should have a certified arborist on their staff. It doesn't have to be a full-time, paying position, but a consulting position where we could have a certified arborist on staff for the town. We could consult, call me, I'll come out and look. We have a permit situation in Payson, which is good. Payson should become a tree city because we do live in this Ponderosa Pine Stand. We should be a Tree City USA. There's only a few steps we need to take in order to do that. I would be willing to work with the mayor in order to get Payson on the map as a Tree City USA. But having a certified arborist on staff would save us so many trees. We have a permit situation in place where we have to have a permit to remove a tree. Well, you need a certified arborist to go out there and grant those permits, because a certified arborist can look and see if a tree is diseased or not so we don't spread the disease to other trees and we don't lose other trees. Also, we can identify decay in trees that should come out that could be a risk to people, property, or events that are happening. Certified arborists would be indispensable for the new park that they're building over on Mud Springs and Frontier. If we would have contacted a certified arborist at the outset, we would have went in there, we would have looked at all of the trees that are in there that we want to have big mature trees in our new park. Well, all those trees now are dying. You drive by there and they're going to have to cut every one of them down because they did not set up tree protection zones around each of those trees. We could have easily gone in there, said, yeah, we got a certified arborist in town, let's call him up. We'll go over there, we'll set up tree protection zones around each one. We'll have him meet with all of the contractors who are coming in there, explain what those tree protection zones are about, why they're there, and we would have saved the root damage that happened to those trees, which now cost them a beautiful part of that park. So it would be indispensable to have, and I'd be willing to work with the town in any endeavor that we do. So
I hope someone from the town is actually listening to this. I'm sure they will, because I think this information that you have is invaluable. And as a community, I love what you said about Tree City USA. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And I think preserving the health of our trees should become a #1 priority, along with firewising. Tell people, how can people get a hold of you?
We're right in Payson. I mean, we've been here for 20 years, so you just have to do a Google search, Natural Beauty Tree Works. You can call us. We're local here. We've been here.
What's your phone
What's your
number?
phone number?
480-364-3344. It is a number from the valley, but I used to have a 928 number, and then something happened. I had to change the number, and I couldn't get it back. So but I'm here. I've been here, and I'm not going anywhere.
What about website?
So yeah, naturalbeautytreeworks.com is our website. And then you can also find us, like I said, you can just do a Google search for Natural Beauty Tree Works. You can find all of our reviews on our Google business page. We're on Facebook, Natural Beauty Tree Works, LLC.
So that's wonderful. We have a little bit of time, right? Yeah, a couple more minutes. There's a lot of people that move to the area. They go to Star Valley Nursery or other nurseries. It doesn't have to be Star Valley. I like going there. And they start planting trees. What advice can you give people about how many trees they should be planting and why they may want to consult you first?
Yeah, that's a good question. Plant Fair Nursery is the only place that I would purchase trees at up here. You can buy trees from Home Depot, you can buy trees from other places, but Plant Fair Nursery will only sell trees that will grow here. It's very important because the pH in our soil is in a very narrow window, and so particular trees will not grow here. And you want to buy trees that are going to flourish in this environment. Plant Fair Nursery buys good quality trees. You want to make sure that you consult a certified arborist. If not, have us plant your trees for you. Have us come out and give you a consultation on them, because planting the tree and selecting the proper tree at the nursery is really important. When we go to the nursery for our customers, we go down to the nursery and we look at all of the species that we have the customer go down and look and find what trees they like the best. Once we know which ones they like, we go down and we inspect all of the specimens that are there at the nursery. We look for certain things. We look for a strong central leader in the tree without a codominant stem. Codominant stem is where you get two competing leaders that are growing alongside each other. Very bad news down the road. Not bad news at first. Looks like you're getting two trees for one. But in the end, it's going to have to come out. They're very dangerous to grow those. So we look for certain things. We look for a proper balance in the scaffolding of the branches. We look for girdled roots. When you're planting a tree, you need to remember that you need to dig a hole 3 times the size of the root ball. So if you have a 24-inch box tree, you're going to need a 6-foot hole. This is to break up the compaction. The second thing, you need to prune the roots. You need to take a saw and you need to cut 1 inch straight down off all of that. You know, when you pull the tree out of the pot, you're going to see a mesh of all the roots in a circle all the way around. You need to take a reciprocating saw or a very sharp hand saw, and you need to cut back 1 inch into that root ball all the way down, all the way around it, and then plant the tree in that 6-foot hole with the compaction broken up. Then 6 months later, you look at those roots, you're going to have beautiful spaghetti roots growing out straight all the way out where it's supposed to. If you don't do that, you can look a year later and those roots are going to be still growing in a circle right around, and that's why you see those trees laying on their sides in monsoon season, because they're not planted properly. You get landscapers to do it, or tree companies that don't have certified arborists on their staff, you're going to have poorly planted trees, and you're going to end up taking them out in a few years.
2 more questions from that.
Yeah.
How close should you be planting those trees?
10 to 15 feet apart. Really, 10 feet is too close, because we have a saying at Arizona Comminity Tree Council, right tree, right place. You want to know what that tree is going to look like when it's mature and fully grown. You want to know how big that canopy is going to get. You don't want to plant a sycamore tree 3 feet from your house. That, it's just not going to work. You're going to be taking that tree out, because that tree is going to grow 50, 60, 75 feet as a canopy of the tree and larger. So it's very important to know what these trees look like when they're mature, to know where to put them, and 10 to 15 feet, especially, just say 15 feet to be safe. You do not want to, you're going to end up taking them out, because the roots are going to be overcrowded into each other, and they're going to be blocking the sunlight from each other. There's just so many different variables. You want to make sure and give those trees that good 15 feet apart. Once they start growing in, I know you want a privacy screen, but privacy screens are the job of shrubs. So don't use trees to do the job that shrubs do.
That's good advice. What about the soil? I mean, do you teach classes on soil, or is that left for master gardeners?
Master gardeners and certified arborists, some of the things that we learn are overlapping, but there are definite areas that a certified arborist will not tread when it comes to gardening. And there are certain areas that master gardeners do not understand about what certified arborists are required to know. So we complement each other, but we are definitely different in what we are required to know to perform our jobs properly. So, soil is a whole other science. That was one domain in the Certified Arborist exam that we had to study fully. There's so many things to know about the soil, the different horizons in the soil, the rhizosphere, the area of intense biological activity, where all of the good stuff is, where all the nutrients are that take place. And mulch is very important. Don't use stone mulch around your trees. Stone mulch around trees just gets hot in the summer and it bakes out all of the absorbing roots of the tree. Last tip, don't water your tree at the trunk. The absorbing roots are out at the drip line of the tree. So if you look at the tree and you look at where the edge of the foliage is down to the ground, that's where your absorbing roots are that actually take in water. You don't know how many houses I drive by every day where the hose is right there laying at the trunk. All you're doing is watering the anchorage roots of the tree. They do not take in water. All they're there to do is hold up the tree, and you're rotting that wood out, which you're going to get root rot. So water your trees where the actual roots are that take in water, which is out at the drip line.
Oh my gosh, I've learned so much. This is incredible. Thank you for being willing to share your knowledge with the community. Dave, can you just one last time before we close out, give people your name, the name of your business again, and your phone number and your website?
Sure. Name's David Mikulak, here in Payson 20 years. Natural Beauty Tree Works, LLC. I'm an ISA certified arborist, and our phone number is 480-364-3344. Our website is naturalbeautytreeworks.com, and you can find us on Google business page, Natural Beauty Tree Works.
Thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you.
This has been awesome. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure to be here.
Wow. I hope you listen. Please like, share this information. Your neighbors need to know. You need to know. Let's make Payson a more tree-friendly, tree-healthy community, and I hope someone from the town of Payson is smart enough to hire this guy. At least 2 hours a week, right?
I'll say amen to that.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.